So guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. So guys, Errol Spence says that you can never overlook Manny Pacquiao. He's a rare breed of a fighter. But I'm the king at the 147-pound division. I'm the man. Errol Spence sets his stall out by calling himself the big fish, the top dog, whatever you want to call it, saying that Manny Pacquiao is a special breed. Errol Spence knows that Manny Pacquiao is a very dangerous fight because he knows that Manny Pacquiao is just a dangerous fighter. He possesses a lot of tools in the box. He's very fast. He's got very good movement. And Errol Spence knows that Manny Pacquiao is going to be a tough fight. Errol Spence knows that this is no easy fight. You know, I know a lot of his fans seem to think that this is going to be easy and he's just going to walk through Manny. I don't see it that way. This is a tough matchup. Tough. And Errol knows that. And Errol knows he needs to be on top of his game, on his A game. Because Manny Pacquiao is going to bring... He's going to bring it. Manny Pacquiao is no joke, guys. Manny Pacquiao's, for me, still a relevant world-level fighter. And a top one at that. And Manny Pacquiao is very hungry right now because he knows what this will do for his legacy. He's looking to be one of the greatest fighters ever. He ain't playing. He's looking to be one of the greatest fighters ever, Manny Pacquiao, and he wants to beat Spence. And prove to everybody that he's one of the great ever. So Manny Pacquiao is very hungry. He's got a lot to... See, a lot of people seem to think that, oh, what's Manny got to prove now? This, that. No. Manny still has a lot to prove because he wants to prove he's one of the greatest. That's what makes him a special breed. As Errol Spence said, he's a special breed because Manny Pacquiao's still hungry and he still wants to prove he's one of the greatest. Here's the thing. Going on to Errol Spence saying he's the king at 147, I disagree with that. Because until you prove you're the king, you're not the king. And what I mean by that, he still hasn't fought Manny Pacquiao and he still hasn't fought Terence Crawford. Those guys are viewed as 2 or 3. Or those 3 are the best guys in the division right now. Pacquiao, Spence and Crawford, for me. And Errol Spence hasn't fought one of them yet. He's going to fight Manny Pacquiao on August 21st. So after that, if he beats Pacquiao, then he has the claim to potentially being number 1. But even then, he's no king because he hasn't beaten Crawford. You know, who's seen as the number 2 guy. Pacquiao's seen as number 3. I do think you can make a case for Pacquiao being number 2 or number 1. Because you can make a case that Pacquiao's beaten the better welterweight out of all of those guys. You can make a case that Pacquiao beat Thurman, who's better than anybody that Spence has beat at welterweight. And you can make a case that with Crawford, it's not no contest. Pacquiao's beaten the better welterweight. He's in Pacquiao's last fight against Thurman. That would be, for me, that would be Spence's best win if Spence had beat Thurman. So for me, Pacquiao has the best win at welterweight even now of the current crop of fighters. I'm not even going back 4 or 5 years. You have to go of the recent last performance. In the last 2 years, Manny Pacquiao fought Keith Thurman and he beat him. That's a better win than anything Spence has done at welterweight. Simple as that. So, to be honest with you, you can make a case that you even think Pacquiao's number 1. Now, the consensus is that Spence is the number 1 welterweight right now. But this is going to be a tough fight. This is not going to be an easy matchup at all, at any stretch. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. This is a tough matchup for Errol Spence. Let's see how this plays. Let's see how this plays out because... Like I said, I'm very interested, very intrigued. Looking forward to August 21st. But I don't agree with Errol Spence about him being the top dog until it's proven. I just think that he may well be. He may be right. He probably is the top dog. But until it's proven, I just don't think you can give... I think the problem is with a lot of boxing fans, we start to crown people before they should be crowned. And what we're doing is we're giving these fighters a false perception of where they stand. You know, Terence Crawford was the man at 140 because he proved he was the man at 140. Errol Spence has to do the same now at welterweight. He needs to beat everybody and prove. So he needs to beat Manny Pacquiao, and then he needs to beat Terence Crawford. Only then he can call himself the king at 147. No, if he does that, nobody's going to deny he's the king. Everybody's going to agree with him that he is the king, because he would have earned the right after beating all the top guys at welterweight that he is the king. But to say that after, you know, beating the guys that he's beaten, I just don't think right now he has a claim to that yet. He may well do in the future, because right now you'd have to say he's beaten a lot of the top guys. He beat Porter, he beat Danny Garcia, he beat Mikey Garcia. I know Mikey's not really a welterweight, and he beat Kell Brook, you know, Lamont. He's beat some good names. But the fact is that he still hasn't fought a couple of the top guys. Like, he hasn't fought Thurman, he hasn't fought Crawford, and he hasn't fought Pacquiao. And let's be honest, most guys would see those three fighters that I named as three of the best welterweights. And Thurman holds a win over Porter and Danny Garcia. And he still hasn't fought Thurman, Pacquiao, or Crawford. I know he's going to fight Pacquiao August 21st. And if he beats Pacquiao, the fact that Pacquiao beat Thurman, he puts himself in a great position, but he still needs to fight Crawford. And again, I'd still like to see him fight Thurman, because styles make fights. Just because Pacquiao beat Thurman, that doesn't necessarily mean Spence. Even though I would favor Spence to beat Thurman, I still would like to see that fight. Because Thurman's right in a way that, you know, you're fighting guys that I beat. But the problem is with Thurman has himself to blame. When Spence wanted to fight Thurman wasn't interested. Now Thurman thinks, I don't need Spence. Why do I need Thurman? What does that fight do for me? Nothing. You know, the reason why Thurman's calling out Spence now, because Thurman needs Spence, because now Spence is the man. I know Thurman talks very well, and he's made some good excuses to why, you know, he didn't fight. But the fact of the matter is, when Spence wanted that fight, Thurman didn't want it. And Spence kind of holds a grudge because of that. Because Spence feels that you didn't fight me when I wanted to fight you, but now when you're not relevant and nobody cares about you, you want to fight me. Because now, let's be honest, Spence would be giving him an opportunity to fight for the belts, when before, even though Spence was champion, he was calling Thurman out. And even when Thurman had the belt, right, and Spence had a belt, he still seemed to be interested in a unification fight. He would rather go for Manny Pacquiao. So Spence looked at all of those things, because Spence wanted that fight. When Thurman held the WBA, right, super title, Spence wanted that fight, but Thurman decided to fight Manny Pacquiao. But he could have fought Errol Spence. This is what I mean. So Spence kind of feels upset about that, you know, and I think it's right in a way, because at the end of the day, you know, if you put yourself in Spence's shoes and you wanted to fight somebody and they kind of avoided you, and now because they're not relevant anymore, they're asking you for a fight, you know, for all we know, Thurman could be completely shot now. He could be completely past his best, because he lost to Manny Pacquiao. He hasn't fought for 2 years. We don't know whether he's been. We've seen him train here and there in the gym, but there's no fight scheduled. Manny Pacquiao had his fight against Thurman, and now he's fighting Errol Spence, and Thurman's still on the shelf. He still hasn't announced a fight. It's been 2 years out. He's been 2 years out the ring. So really, Thurman for me is we just don't know where he's at. He could be completely shot. We just don't know, because anyone that hasn't fought for 2 years, right, that suffered from injuries and stuff, and that's been inactive, no active fighter, no top-level fighter would keep themselves out for 2 years. Like, you can understand Pacquiao, but Pacquiao's old, man. He's 42 years of age. So I can understand Pacquiao not fighting for 2 years. But someone like Keith Thurman, who's young, not to fight for 2 years, it's just not a good look, and it's not good for your career. You're going to be really rusty when you come back. And Thurman hasn't got that time anymore where he can have tune-up fights, and it doesn't make any sense. So what's Thurman going to do? Have a tune-up fight, then going to go into a big fight? What's he going to do? Is he going to go into a big fight right away? That's not good either, because we don't know. Thurman could be completely shot now. You know, he wasn't great when he came back against Lopez. That was a couple of years ago. When he fought Lopez, he looked so bad. You know, he almost got stopped in that fight. So imagine Thurman now coming back against like a Porter. That would be disastrous for Thurman. This is what I'm trying to say, that I don't know what Thurman's got left, because now Thurman's 2 years older. And Thurman's been inactive just as long as he was the first time after the Danny Garcia fight. He was inactive. Thurman, since 2017, right, he's had 2 fights in 4 years. He's had 2 fights in 4 years. Since Danny Garcia, which must have been in 2017, I'm pretty certain. Even if it's 2000, to have 2 fights in 3 years is pathetic. Because I know people are going to say, well, we had the pandemic. Well, that was only 6 months. You know, after that, Teofimo fought in October of 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So things were underway. It's not like Thurman's not been fighting, because Thurman's, for me, firstly, I think he's lost the hunger. And he's been inactive. I just don't see anybody that's top level fighter gonna be inactive for that long, because it's not good for your career, is it? It's not good for your career. But anyway, I've gone off on a tangent there. But Pacquiao and Spence it's a great fight. Great fight. You know, and I can't wait. And I do agree with Errol Spence that Pacquiao's a special breed. But to call himself the man at 147, I think he needs to prove that. I would like to see him fight Pacquiao and then fight Terence Crawford. He does that, he can definitely say he's the man at 147. I just don't think you can say that until you fight the best. And he's gonna fight Manny Pacquiao August 21st. I think if he wins that fight, he definitely can call himself #1. But again, he needs to fight Terence Crawford to really cement his legacy. And now he may have to fight Ugas, because Ugas is the champion. He's the WBA super champion. So he may have to fight Ugas as well. You know? So let's see. Or maybe, who knows? Thurman might fight Ugas. And then Errol Spence might have, and if Thurman beats Ugas, Spence may have no choice but to fight Thurman, because now Thurman is a champion. You see, so maybe Al Heyman is going in that direction. Who knows? We just don't know. But either way, I wouldn't mind. Whatever happens, I wouldn't mind if Terence Crawford fights Ugas and beats Ugas. Or whoever, if Ugas beats Terence Crawford, then we have a unified champion, and then Spencer a unified champion, and those guys can unify the division by fighting each other. So at the end of the day, it's all up in the air right now in the welterweight division. There's a lot of answers that need to be answered. And the way they get answered is by them fighting each other. You know, we've all got our opinions, but opinion is just an opinion. Everyone's got one. We need to see it in real. We need to see who the best welterweight is, not someone's opinion, because of course every fighter is going to think they're the best. Every top level fighter is going to think they're the best. Every fighter is going to say, yes, I'm the best. But until we see it and until you prove it, you know, I just don't think you should be given credit for something. And that's just my stance on it. But yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think happens. Who wins? Let me know, guys. Leave your thoughts. And guys, remember to please like, share, subscribe to my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.